Welcome to Life, Death, and the Law, presented by the law firm of Beeson, Garner, and Hansen, hosted by attorneys Shawn Garner and Adam Hansen.
John Stossel is one of those guys I grew up with on 2020. He and Barbara Walters used to do that 2020 show where they would go and they would, investigate businesses and disclose all of their corrupt acts and how they were trying to take widows and elderly people and take advantage of them by charging exorbitant fees for whatever services. And anyway, he earned a name for himself through that. I think he was an anchor on CNN and Fox, but either way, he was your traditional reporter that chose his story and then would dig deep into the story. He now has his own channel, and it's a fantastic channel. I like his little 5-minute bits that he will expose topics that we really should be understanding more about and bring them to light. And I think that he brings on guests that really try to bring opposing views. So the guest that he brings on this show is Chase Oliver. And many of you may not have heard his name. That's the whole point of why I'm going to play this clip right now, is Chase Oliver is the Libertarian candidate during this election. He's most likely going to be on every ballot, but he's most likely only going to get 1% or maybe slightly higher of the vote. A lot of people call him the spoiler, kind of like RFK. But you hear a lot more about RFK than you do Chase Oliver. Chase Oliver, honestly, this is the first time I've heard about him. And I like to consider myself a Republican that leans libertarian. I like most of the libertarian views, but not all. And so I'm going to play this clip from John Stossel, and he's going to interview Chase Oliver. He's going to get the views from the Libertarian Party, or at least Chase Oliver's views on the Libertarians. And I want to pick this interview apart. Cody, get your input on it. I know that you kind of lean the same direction with more libertarian type.
Freedom. Freedom, what's traditionally, what our country stood for.
Okay. And Thomas, you too.
Sure.
I don't know if you do or not. Do you?
Do I lean more libertarian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say not all the way I think as Chase Oliver is. I lean towards good ideas.
Okay, so let's play this and see what's a good idea and what's a bad idea.
I will put a libertarian in my cabinet and also libertarians in senior posts.
Donald Trump recently spoke at the Libertarian Party's national convention.
Pretty good.
He asked libertarian delegates for their support.
You should nominate me or at least vote for me, and we should win together.
There were cheers, but mostly boos, and party members chose this man to be their nominee.
I'm fighting for a world set free in our lifetime. Are you fighting for a world set free in our lifetime?
Chase Oliver's the new libertarian presidential candidate. But to my sadness, I've discovered when I ask people, what's a libertarian? Most don't know. What's a libertarian?
A libertarian is someone that allows you to live your life in peace, free from government intrusion. If you're not harming anyone, your life is your life, your body's your body, your business is your business.
But don't Democrats and Republicans basically believe that?
Well, they love to talk about that stuff, about freedom and liberty, but in reality, they could put all kinds of government programs that invade your privacy, your business, your life.
He runs ads about that.
The only thing Democrats and Republicans can agree on is how to spend your money out of thin air and devalue our dollar. Just about every program could be better done through the private marketplace.
What about people who are helpless?
Just because I don't want the government to help people doesn't mean that I don't think we need to help people.
Private individuals and charities, he says, can and do help people, often better than government does. But politicians say government can help more if we just raise taxes on the rich.
It is time for a wealth tax in America.
Shouldn't the rich?
That was Elizabeth Warren talking about a wealth tax, that the rich should pay more. Cody, what's your thoughts on that? Should the rich pay more? They have more?
I think there should be a fair, flat tax that we've always talked about, but we obviously need to look at our whole tax system because it's out of control.
Basically you think the rich should pay less because a flat tax, right now it's progressive tax, where the rich pay a higher percentage than the middle class and I don't know if you call them the lower class, but maybe
The plebeians.
We don't use peasants yet.
Okay,
No, we
yes.
don't use those yet.
So yeah, the rich already pay more because they pay a higher percentage than people that are making less money. And I think about $500,000 per household is the top income limit. And if you're there, depending on what state you're in, you're paying between 45 and 55% of your income. That's quite a bit.
But you should have an equal stake in it. And you know what? You should also devote your time to it as well. You know, there should be, I don't want to say like a national draft, but there should be some sort of system where we have you're invested. You know, you've put your time in after you've completed high school or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think a progressive tax system is fundamentally unfair. Like when people say that they want you to pay your fair share, what they mean is they want you to pay your unfair share. If the rich are paying more percentage-wise, it's fundamentally unfair. If I've got to pay 30% because I just happen to make more money, like look at it goes all the way back to the New Testament and the widow's mite. Like why was the widow's mite a sacrifice? It was the same 10% that everyone had to pay, but because she had so little, it didn't matter that her tithe was so little. It's the same thing for taxes to me.
So what about the poor then? Because if we don't have the government safety nets to pay for the poor, what they just said with this Chase Oliver's libertarian view was the government should let people alone. That means let them alone to succeed, let them alone to fail. And isn't that just unconscionable to let the poor die in the streets? And his response to that was, well, there are private charities that can do things more efficiently than the government. Is that going to really work? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, what if we were to stop? Right now, we put roadblocks in place so private charities can't provide aid to certain groups or certain people. Like, what if we stopped doing that? What if we allowed the churches to go back and to feed people and educate people? And obviously, there's more to it, but
I didn't realize churches weren't able to do certain charitable acts.
some of them have stopped. Like, for example, there was a program where a church got sued because they would take food that was not being sold and they would go and donate it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But, you know,
was that the FDA type thing? Like
that kind of stuff is out of California. But point being is, if somebody gets sick and now you're the one liable,
okay,
you know, it kind of deters people from helping.
I think that there's this myth that the government has to provide welfare for its people or else nobody will. The vast majority, I think, of our history prior to FDR's time period when he was president, it was up to private organizations to provide charity and welfare. We have churches, and this is documented. I've mentioned this in the show before, but Alexis de Tocqueville, who's a famous French author, and I guess I don't know if he was an economist, but he wrote a famous book.
Yeah, he's a political philosopher.
Yeah.
Well recognized, yeah.
Democracy in America. It's his famous work. And in that volume, he talks about how America could not function without its robust private charity system that he observed in the 1800s, where churches were providing soup kitchens, people were, going into their own wallets to pay for other people. And I think the side effect of that is also it's spent responsibly. If you know that you're getting something from somebody directly out of their pocket, you're going to be more conservative with what you ask for. You're going to be more grateful, less entitled. And I think we should have a step back towards that mentality and that mindset as a country.
You think that'll work?
I think it would.
They say like there's government's more responsible the closer it is to you. So the further you get away, like in Washington, you're less connected to it. Mm-hmm. I think the same thing with charity.
Yeah.
I think Thomas makes a great point there.
Yeah, after I graduated school, I had a ton of debt, and we were paying back student loans, and my income literally wasn't sufficient to pay for just everyday necessities. And, of course, our necessities here in America are high level compared to around the rest of the world. But what I felt was a necessity was a basic car that ran, and I was getting, it was only a $3,000 car. So just the bare minimum that it would actually start reliably every morning. And renting a house, it was a 2-bedroom house. It was actually a 3-bedroom house, but it wasn't in the greatest shape. And still, we were living paycheck to paycheck with that. And when it came to Christmas, there was no money for Christmas. And we had 3 kids. So my brother came over one day, and he handed me $1,000 in cash. And this was unprovoked, unasked for. He just handed it to me and said, "Hey, Merry Christmas. This isn't a loan. This is a gift. I want you to have it. I'm doing fine, and I know it's tough when you first come out of school before things start getting better." And holy smokes, the emotion that was there, the love, the gratitude that I felt for that, and also the responsibility that I felt for that money. I felt like it was sacred funds. I wasn't going to go waste it on something frivolous. I wasn't going to go out and buy an Xbox with it, right? I was going to buy something that was meaningful for my kids. And I really spent that using a lot of thought and compassion towards what the gift meant to me. I think that that really underpins what you're saying, Cody. The closer you are to the gift giver, the more responsible you feel and for the gift received.
If you have questions or want to know more about something that was discussed today, please call the law firm of Beeson, Garner, and Hansen at 928-783-4575 or visit yumaestateplanning.com.